What's going on, you guys? We are here. We are live for a PGA show. This will be my first PGA show I've done, but I've been playing about 3/4 of a season total, probably, of PGA on Yahoo, and it's really enjoyable. It's something where if you want to take a break from the daily NBA grind, which can be kind of exhausting, it's who's in the field. There's not a lot of changes that can be made. You don't have to think daily lineups. They release it beginning of the week. The field. Watch out for the few withdrawals that happen. But besides that, you kind of have Monday through Wednesday night to kind of do your research and come up with a lineup. And it's really fun. It's even more fun just because it's that battle of trying to get as many cut makers, but also having high upside. We'll get into it later. But anyways, we're going to be doing Yahoo, just the $50 single entry here. And we've got our field. I won't be on the Yahoo page much at all. We'll actually be using Fantasy National Golf Club website. I love this tool. I do subscribe. I do pay maybe like $10 a month for it. So I recommend, if you're going to do golf, you don't need this. You don't. You could do your own research without it. However, in golf, this custom stat model, it really does help you narrow the players that you're willing to pick. You don't need to necessarily pick based just on the custom model, and that's what I'm going to get into first. The way I select players, there's three key things. I use this custom stat model, which I'll go over and show you what I'm using, what stats that I'm using for, okay? I use tournament history. Depending on what courses are, sometimes I think tournament history is weighted more for me and sometimes it's not. So I always keep tournament history in the back of my mind. Some courses or some tournaments change and have different courses for the tournament, which means tournament history really doesn't mean as much. But for tournaments that are always the same course, like this one we have now, its tournament history gets a slight bump up in terms of its importance for me. And then lastly, but certainly not least, recent performance. Okay, so those three things: custom stat model, tournament history, recent performance. And when I say recent performance, when I do my custom stat model, I don't like looking anything beyond the last 3 months. So that'll generally, you could get up to 50 rounds, but sometimes you might be somewhere between 10 to 20 rounds played. That's fine with me. If you have anywhere between 10 to 20 rounds, I'll take that as a good sample size. Anything below 10 rounds, it starts getting a little sketchy. And that's where it shows right here how many rounds of golf they've played in that time frame. So before we start looking at this, let's see what my custom stat model is, and then we'll see what the ranks look like, and we'll kind of start with, and this is how I start, by the way, guys. So I have the tournament history up, which I will just click in here, and it will bring up tournament history, okay? And then it's also going to, started starring some players in here. So we'll have that. I want to star some of these players with you guys. So we'll have tournament history up. That way I can go in here and kind of search for players in their tournament history. And then we'll also have our custom stat model. So going along in here, in these lines, what I'll do is 3 months, last 50 rounds, okay, because you might get 50 rounds in 3 months. And what I'll do is I will uncheck all of these things. The only thing I'll ever check on this sidebar to add, like this is an additional stat that you want to add in and make more particular to the stat model that you're creating. The only thing I'll ever do is type of greens, because type of greens do matter for these players. Some, for example, Hideki is terrible on a certain green compared to others. The best green is Bermuda grass. Okay, so that does matter to me. I like using this after I've crunched just, no extra stats to include in your stat model. So what I'm going to do here is you're going to decide how you want each stat weighted. So in this course, it's a par 70. It's a short course. I believe there's only 2 par 5s. It's a par 4 course. And essentially, almost all are par 4s, and there's a good amount of par 3s too. So what you want to do is, I always like having par 3s because I've been burnt by players that aren't good at par 3s, and that can really hurt you when people start fumbling par 3s. So I always like to weight par 3s if there's a good handful of par 3s. Par 4s I have weighted pretty heavily because that's most of this course, so I have it 15%. Around the green, they do want some around the green at this course. And what you guys really want to do is you want to go to course breakdown. And this is kind of how you can kind of figure out what stats you want. So this will kind of tell you where the top finish, did in each category in strokes gained. So around the green, obviously approach was the most important in your top 10. Off the tee, putting was significant. Okay. Ball striking and short game were also significant, which is why around the green goes into short game. Par 5s, obviously, that's not a huge factor for me. 3 putt avoidance. Well, I'm going to just put in putting, since putting was pretty important, that I'm not going to include that stat. I'm just going to include it in putting because if you're a good putter, you shouldn't 3 putt often. Greens and regulation, obviously, it looks like you would think that the winner would have the most greens and regulation, obviously. Some sand saves, which is around the green for me too. I'll never have that particular stat unless there's an abundance of sand traps. Fairways are small here. However, from what we've heard, the rough is pretty short, so it shouldn't be too hard to get out of. And this is what you really want to look at is the whole composition. You kind of see, look at all these par 4s. There's 5 from 4 to 450, 5 from 450 to 5. Then you've got a short par 4, and you've got even a shorter par 4. And then you've got some par 3s. We've got 4 par 3s and then 2 par 5s. Okay. You can get your shot distribution if you like. This is their second shot, their approach shot from each distance. Okay. So you could see that, 125 to 200 is the most popular. I usually don't use this. Stroke range approach for me is usually just fine. Driving accuracy, you could see that accuracy was lower here. So hence fairways hard to hit. So this is a good way to kind of figure out what stats you want. So that's why I got my par 4s and par 3s, because there are significantly more par 4s and par 3s and par 5s. I got my greens percent like we saw. Obviously you want that bogey avoidance and stroke range putting pretty big at this course because it'll be high scoring, and approach the highest weighted because it generally is the most important thing. If you can't hit your second shot, you're usually not a great golfer, kind of like myself. Okay. And then birdie or better game, since it's a high scoring affair and it's not a difficult course, I usually like using the stat. If it's a difficult course, the stat usually doesn't help much. But since it's such a high scoring affair, you want people that are scoring a lot and often. Okay. So let's make sure nothing's checked, and let's load the model. And don't mind me, guys. Cheers. Got a little Stella going on today. Let's see if this bad boy loads up. Okie dokes. So, got our model. Let's figure out the ranks here. Can I sort ranks? Thank you. Okay, so you've got your ranks. Now, don't think, oh my God, I got my ranks. Taylor Gooch, I'm going with him. He's the best golfer. He's going to win. That's not how the ranking works. You just kind of want to look at the ranks. You want to see what stats. Maybe there's a stat that you've weighted more that you're really like, I really want I want people that avoid bogeys the most, or I want birdies or better. And you can kind of sit through that. You don't necessarily have to take the custom stat model so straightforward. I've done that before and made those mistakes, but it's a good base. It's one of the things we're looking at. So let's get into a few value plays that I like. and a few expensive plays I like, and then I think there are 2 core plays that I'm going to be using no matter what. They were never going to leave my lineup. Okay. Number 1 is going to be Patton Kizzire. Now, if we go over and look at his course history here, he won it in 18. He got cut last year. He had a T13 in 2019, got cut in 16. That's kind of exactly what Patton Kizzire is. He had a really rough stretch in his career. This is that kind of makes sense. 2 cuts, two top 20s, and a win. So I like that he's won here. He's familiar on the course, so that's really nice. And then if you go in and look exactly what Patton is great at here, it's telling us he's one of the best putters in the field. Okay. Great at par 5s. So when those 2 come up, he should be scoring on them. All right. Great par 3. There's 4 of them. Take that in mind. Those are going to be important. Birdie or better. He's a scorer at heart. Around the green. He can get around the green well. And he's got not a great par 4. That can concern you a little bit. That can concern you a bit. And same with the stroke game approach. Okay. So those are the 2 highest weighted things. So that's why he's a value play. He could get you in trouble. Okay. He's not the best golfer by all means. But what I love doing is if you are playing a value play, your value play player better be a good putter on the surface that the course they're on. Personally, that's just what I believe. Because putting can get you out of trouble. And if you're a value play and you're atrocious on Bermuda, which they're on this week, then you're in trouble. This is best surface, which I love. And then recent performance, remember, always take a look. I love this. He hasn't had a missed cut in, 6 tournaments? Okay. That's really good to me. That's really good to me. He's gaining a lot putting. He needs his putter. We know that. Okay. Tee to green, he's great too. At least he has been recently. So, he's definitely a value play, but he does check all of my boxes in terms of tournament history, his recent performance. He's making cuts. Your value play, all you want to do is make the cut. A 6 cut streak. I love that. And he's a good putter here. And the custom stat model ranks him 9th. So there's your first value play. I really like Patton Kizzire this week. Next up on our list, let's take a look. And I know everyone that will be playing this week with me will love it. Let's see where Mr. Sepp is. Sepp's up here too. Sepp, this is another great value play this week. If you take a look at the stat model, he's 12th. That's cool. This is awesome. 2nd in the field in the last 3 months on stroke screen approach. 1st in par 3s. And he's a scorer, okay? And he's a scorer, okay? 54 out of 150 people, that's not bad for putting, all right? So, he definitely is in the top of some of these stats and then meager to a little bit kind of worse than the others. You can't expect anything more than a $21 player, okay, guys? Let's take a look at his tournament history real quick. T53 in a cut. He kind of fails that, all right? So this is when you start thinking, all right, well, he's got to pass in the custom stat model. His tournament history is iffy. Made the cut last year at least, though. That's what you're looking for, at least a cut made of the 2. And then also his recent performance, which I can tell you has been stellar for a $21 player, that all we want him to do is make the cut. He's about even keel on this. It's definitely not his best putting surface. So keep in mind there, you're kind of just scratched on his putting surface here. However, he also has 5 straight made cuts. So he passes the recent performance in a 5th. That's amazing. We don't expect anything from Sepp but to make the cut. And at $21, that's an amazing value. Okay. So you see how I'm kind of checking these things out. Next up, let's get to you know what? Let's do Doug Ghim next because he's on the list too. So Doug Ghim. This guy, everyone is really liking this week, and he's in a lot of people's articles. You know, he's ranking well, 24th in this model. He gets bogeys, but he also scores a lot, so he's going to be volatile. You can expect that from a $20 player mostly. Great on par fours, okay. He's not going to be much of a putter, but he's a great approach player, so that's good too. Let's go and see if he's got any history here. He's been cut once. He doesn't pass that test, okay? But then let's see if he's had any good recent performances. That's not good. That's not what you want to see. That's a red flag. That's pretty significant. But he has made 4 straight cuts. So you got the cuts, you got the stat model. Bad putter here, and not great tournament history. So, you know, if you're looking at these guys, you're looking at Gim and Sepp and Kazire. Gim would definitely be behind the 2 so far. Okay. Another play that I love is Neesmith. Now he's 24. He's not bottom of the barrel, but he's still all right. He's ranking 28th in our model. Great approach player. Okay. He can birdie or better. He's terrible at par 3s, so hold your breath there. Great at par 4s, great at par 5s. Not a great putter. So this guy's, again, he could be up and down, but he can get hot. He can get hot, and he's one of the better scorers. BOB gained is big in your value players because if they do miss the cut, they could still put up some fantasy points in the 2 rounds they played. Okay. Let's see if he's had any tournament history here. Yep, made the cut last year in his only appearance, so that's really good. And let's see about some recent performance. I'm not going to do this with every player. I'm going to name the rest of my value plays, but not actually go and look at their performance. Bermuda, one of his better services putting. That's excellent, especially when he's not a great putter. Recent performance. All right. We got a 15 and 8, a 17 and 41, and a missed cut. So he doesn't have straight cuts, but he's got what? The last 5. He's got 4 out of 5 of the last 5 made. Played really great at RSM. I really like Neesmith here just for the fact that he is a scorer. So that's what you want in fantasy, right? People giving you fantasy points. So Neesmith, one of my faves. A few others that have been out there and that I would definitely recommend looking into yourself. Scott Piercy, he's at 26, so he's kind of getting away from the value, but if you think 26 is manageable and that could be one of your lower price players, go for it. Take a look at him. He's ranking 6th in the model, so you definitely want to take a look at him. That's a good play. Our boy Russell Knox, also ranking 10th in the model. I'm probably not playing him this week, but take a look at him. That's a good value play as well. And you know what I do? I do like this guy, but he's ranking so bad that I'm just not gonna recommend him as a value play. Cameron Davis, and then Griot. Can you say that 27 is a value play? Not really. So he's kind of getting closer to that $30 range. It's awkward dollar price. So again, if you're going completely balanced with not many $50 players or upwards over those, then you could balance out, and this would be a good lowest price player kind of build if you're doing that. I'm not doing that, but he is a good player. If 27 is going to be your cheapest player, you're going to build a lineup like that. Okay. Also, if you're new to this, starring is awesome because then you can go click here and show all the people that you starred and kind of take a deeper dive into just those players. Okay. Now, my core plays for this week are going to be Neiman. He's 2nd ranked in the model. He's $38. Okay. Made a cut T57. He's become a better player since then. All right. And he just lost in the playoff to Harris English last week. All right. In the Century Tournament of Champions. This is what's going to kill him is his putting. Okay. He's not a great putter, but I'll tell you what, man, The guy can score. Look at this. Look at this streak of made cuts. I mean, and he's $38. I mean, and he's gaining in these. I mean, he is gaining. If he gains like he did last week and he got second, you can expect the approach game to be there. You can expect the tee green game to be there. He can punch it out there. If he can punch it out here and here, and it doesn't really matter in fairways, watch out. Watch out for Neiman. $38. He's mispriced, so I love him. He's one of my core plays this week. He was in my lineup from day one, and he was never going to pick him out. And then our boy Webb Simpson has been in my lineup. One of the best tournament histories at this course. I mean, that's beautiful. And I mean, the man is just so consistent. You have to love him. And coming off of T17 last week, I truly believe that he will make a run at this tournament and try to get a W. Loves Bermuda. I mean, recent performance is stellar. Off the tee was awful last week. I expected to get back in the green. Love Webb Simpson, one of my core plays. So Neiman and Simpson are core locked in. I recommend you locking them in too. They're absolutely phenomenal. Also, if you want to just look at who's just been the best history here, you can do strokes gain total and look at everything. Okay. So that's kind of a cool tool too if you just want to look at tournament history and see who the dogs are. Okay. Let's take a look at a few expensive players in here that are looking pretty solid this week too. Start with Harris English, just one. Now, I'll say this. You've got Harris English, all right. You've got Morikawa and M. All right, they're all $47. I think you should have one in your lineup to pair with Simpson. I can't tell you which one is going to be the best because when you are dealing with these type of golfers that are upper tier, anyone can go off. I think people are going to be fading English because he won. That's a popular thing in PGA daily golf is that, it's really difficult. It's rare for someone to win 2 weeks in a row on the PGA Tour, unless your name's Tiger Woods. So, I mean, people will fade and go to a guy like Morikawa, who I believe and is going to be an overall better golfer than Harris English is when both their careers are done, and just way more talented. So you can go there too. And then M has just been playing fantastic golf too. So all of them are reasonable to go to. I will be going to Harris English because I think that people will hop off of him and go Morikawa or M. And I think English could do a sweep in a Y like Justin Thomas and DJ have in the past. So I like Harris English here. I think that, and he has great course history here. Okay. I think he's got the best tournament history here of the three. Let's see. Him actually really solid tournament history here too. I think Morikawa was only played once, got beat home. So they all have some okay tournament history. So all three of those are in play. Go with your gut, do your own research. That's going to be a key factor in greening. Now, some other names, some bigs that withdrew. Hovland withdrew and Reed withdrew, so they're not in this tournament. And then to cap off some of these larger priced players, you have Berger. Okay. He didn't look that great last week. I'm fading him. I don't see a reason to go Berger when you've got those three $47 players below him that I think are all three better plays. All right. And then we have those guys like Matsuyama and Scott. I think they're both at $41. Yeah. If I were to pick one, I'd go Adam Scott. But I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go to either of them. I'm probably going to pair Simpson and Neiman with one of these $47 players, most likely English. But I'm still kind of deciding between English and Morikawa. There are a lot of options you guys can do here. Like I said, it's cool you get these lineups and the field on Mondays because it's a lot of stuff that you want to go through and kind of do your own process and your own research. Everyone's got their own way of doing things. And just also make sure that, when you've got 6 golfers, make sure you're very happy with all 6, thinking that all 6 can make the cut. I never feel comfortable throwing someone in there that I'm like, I don't know if he's going to make the cut. 6 cut makers is your goal into being green in golf. Don't even worry about the scores until Friday night when the cut's made. That's when you can kind of start thinking, okay, how much can I score? Because score doesn't mean anything. If someone misses 2 cuts, but they're like 50 points ahead of you and you have 6 cut makers, you're probably going to pass them. Okay. So that's going to be it for the first golf show. I hope you guys enjoyed. I didn't want to go too long, so next time we will be able to skip kind of the introduction of this tool and kind of get into a little bit more detail into each player. But at least I gave you guys a handful, gave you some value plays, kind of went through some of the more expensive players, and at least gave you 2 core players to plug in and move on from that. I will most likely do another golf show. Now, I'll probably try to do one each week because there's only one tournament each week. So it's kind of fun to do these. I actually enjoy doing daily golf more than daily NBA. It's really fun. And I think that that grind of a 4-day tournament is just so much fun to watch. All right, guys, I'm out. I'm going to eat some dinner. I'm going to watch those Kings in about an hour and a half. And then we will have a quick episode tomorrow with me and Alex talking about how that James Harden trade just happened and kind of the aftermath and the ripple effect for all those teams involved. Thank you guys. I'm out. You guys have a wonderful night.